A former slot technician just revealed something that 95% of casino players completely miss, and this single piece of information could transform everything you thought you knew about slot machines. Casinos are praying you never notice this pattern. Pattern number 1. The cold machine warm-up myth. Walk into any casino right now and you'll see it happening. A player sits down at a machine, loses 20 spins in a row, then 40, then 60. They're convinced something is about to shift. The machine feels cold now, but that means it has to warm up eventually. That's how it works, right? The longer you go without winning, the closer you get to a payout. Michael believed this completely. He sat at a Buffalo Diamond machine for 3.5 hours, feeding in 20s one after another. He started with $200. By the time he finally walked away, he'd lost $800 total, convinced the entire time that the machine was about to turn around. Former employees confirm they watch this exact scenario play out hundreds of times every single week, and the mathematical reality is brutal. Here's what those former technicians want you to understand. Every single slot machine operates using what's called a random number generator, and this RNG runs continuously whether anyone is playing or not. It cycles through thousands of number combinations every second. When you press that spin button, you're not triggering a sequence that builds on previous spins. You're capturing whatever random number the generator landed on at that exact millisecond. Each spin is completely independent. The machine doesn't remember that you just lost 15 times in a row. It has no memory of your previous hour of play. There is zero correlation between what happened on spin number 47 and what will happen on spin number 48. According to internal documentation shared by former workers, this is the single most profitable myth casinos never bother to correct. They love when players believe machines warm up after going cold because this belief keeps people seated at losing machines far longer than they would otherwise stay. Statistical analysis shows absolutely no pattern connecting previous losses to future wins. But here's what makes this even more dangerous. There's a pattern that actually does exist, and it's the complete opposite of what 95% of players think. Pattern number 2. The just hit machine advantage. This might be the most counterintuitive truth in the entire casino, and it goes against every instinct most players have developed. You're walking through the slot floor, and you see a woman jumping up and down, bells ringing, lights flashing. She just hit a $4,000 jackpot on Lightning Link. The attendant comes over, does the paperwork, she collects her money, and leaves with the biggest smile you've seen all week. Now that machine is sitting there empty. What do? If you're like 95% of players, you walk right past it without a second thought. That machine just paid out huge. It's going to be cold now. It needs time to build back up. Except here's what former slot technicians desperately want you to understand. That machine you just walked past has the exact same odds of hitting a jackpot as every other identical machine on that floor, and the same odds it had 1 second before that woman won her $4,000. Documentation from former employees includes case after case of players actively avoiding machines immediately after big wins, completely missing that the odds are statistically identical. The RNG doesn't deplete. It doesn't need to recharge. Remember what we just covered about random number generation? That system doesn't care that it just produced a winning combination. The next spin is pulling from the exact same pool of possibilities. Former floor managers report watching this phenomenon constantly. Someone hits a jackpot, a crowd gathers to watch and celebrate, then the machine sits empty for 20 minutes while players choose machines that haven't hit anything significant in hours. One specific case involved a woman who hit an $8,000 jackpot on Buffalo Gold, cashed out, and left, and the very next player who sat down hit a $3,800 bonus within 20 spins. Pure coincidence, absolutely, but that's exactly the point. It's no more coincidental than any other 20-spin sequence on any other machine, but players miss this pattern completely because they're operating on the false belief that machines need recovery time after paying out. And speaking of patterns players miss, there's another one that's even more common and potentially more costly. Pattern number 3. The denomination illusion. You sit down at a penny slot machine because you want to gamble conservatively. Pennies sound safe. Pennies sound like you can play for hours without losing much money. Sarah believed exactly this when she chose a Dragon Link penny machine for her Saturday afternoon session. She thought she was being responsible, playing the lowest denomination available. 90 minutes later, she'd gone through $400 and couldn't understand how it happened so fast. Here's what she missed, and what 95% of penny slot players miss. She wasn't betting pennies per spin. That machine had 50 lines, and she was playing max bet like the game encourages. 50 lines times 5 credits per line at a penny denomination equals $2.50 per spin, and she was hitting that button every 6 seconds. The mathematical reality is that penny players often spend more per hour than quarter players who bet on a single line, but the denomination creates an illusion of safety that masks the actual cost structure. Internal casino data accessed by former analysts shows penny denomination players frequently have the highest loss rates per session, specifically because the total bet amount hides behind the comfortable sounding denomination. You're not playing pennies. You're playing the total bet multiplied by however fast you're spinning, and that pattern remains invisible until someone points it out directly. But wait until you hear about the pattern even experienced players completely overlook. Pattern number 4, the near-miss recognition gap. Right now, somewhere in a casino, a player is staring at their screen thinking they almost won. The jackpot symbols lined up perfectly on the pay line, except that the third reel stopped one position too high. So close. They can see the symbol they needed sitting right there, just barely out of position. It happened on the last spin. It happened 3 spins before that. It keeps happening over and over, and this creates a feeling that they're getting closer, that the machine is almost ready to pay. Frank experienced this exact sensation on a Buffalo Gold machine last month. He's an experienced player, knows the games well, but something felt different that day. He started tracking what he was seeing, writing down every time matching symbols appeared just above or below the pay line instead of on it. After 200 spins, he'd documented 47 near misses. 47 times the symbols he needed appeared adjacent to the winning position. He sat back and did the math, and that's when he realized something was very wrong. If the reels were truly random, that frequency was statistically improbable. What 95% of players miss completely is that these aren't close calls at all. They're programmed visual deceptions. Technical documentation from former slot programmers reveals that near misses occur 30 to 50% more frequently than random chance would create. According to these insiders, the symbol weighting system is deliberately designed to make matching symbols appear just above or below the pay line at specific intervals. One former programmer stated directly that they weighted the reels to show near misses because testing demonstrated this kept players engaged significantly longer than truly random outcomes. The psychological impact is measurable. Near misses trigger almost the same dopamine response in your brain as actual wins. Your pattern recognition system interprets these near misses as evidence that you're getting close to a winning outcome, even though each spin remains completely independent. The machine knows this. The programming accounts for this. When you see more near misses, that's not the machine getting ready to pay. That's the machine working exactly as designed to exploit your pattern recognition instinct. Research tracking player behavior shows that increased near-miss frequency correlates directly with extended play sessions and higher total money spent. The more near misses you experience, the longer you stay. And that's not an accident. And here's where it gets really disturbing. Before we get to the pattern that former employees say is the most dangerous, I need to tell you something directly. This information isn't easy to find, and casinos definitely don't want it shared publicly. If what you've learned so far has changed how you think about slot machines, hit that subscribe button because there's much more to reveal. Let me know in the comments whether you've ever noticed these patterns before, or if you're just now realizing you've been missing them this entire time. Because what I'm about to show you next is something that insiders say costs players more money than any other missed pattern, and it involves how modern machines track and respond to your specific behavior in ways you've probably never even considered. Pattern number 5. The bonus round frequency deception. You're sitting at a Happy Lantern machine and the bonus round triggers beeps. Symbols lock into place, the hold and spin feature activates, and for the next 30 seconds you're watching coins collect on the screen. You walk away 12 times your bet. It feels rewarding. The machine triggered another bonus 40 spins later, then another 160 spins after that. In a 2-hour session, you hit the bonus feature 9 times, 9 separate bonus rounds. That has to be a good machine, right? That has to mean something positive about your chances. Jessica thought exactly this when she chose Happy Lantern as her regular game. She tracked her sessions carefully over 3 weeks, documenting every bonus trigger, every payout, every dollar spent. After 6 sessions totaling about 11 hours of play, she'd triggered the bonus feature 43 times. 43 separate bonus rounds, but when she calculated her total results, she was down $960. She couldn't understand how that math worked. How could she hit that many bonuses and still lose that much money? Here's the pattern that 95% of players miss completely. Slot machines are programmed with an inverse relationship between bonus frequency and bonus value. According to former game designers, you either get frequent bonuses that pay small amounts or rare bonuses that pay large amounts, but you never get both. The programming won't allow it. What players miss is that frequent bonus triggers often return less value than the base game spins you're playing between them. Technical analysis of games like Happy Lantern shows the bonus triggers every 30 to 50 spins on average, but the typical return is 8 to 15 times your bet. Think about the mathematical reality hidden in that pattern. You just spent 40 base game bets trying to trigger a feature that paid back 10 bets. You're celebrating hitting the bonus? Your brain is registering it as a win, but you're actually behind. Former employees report this is one of the most effective psychological tools in modern slot design. Players track how often they hit bonuses, but they don't track the net cost of reaching those bonuses versus what the bonuses actually return. One floor supervisor stated that they would watch players get excited about hitting bonus rounds constantly, celebrating each trigger, completely unaware that the game was programmed to drain their bankroll slowly through this exact mechanism. And this leads directly into the pattern that might be the most costly of all. Pattern number 6. The time on device tracking. Modern slot machines aren't just running random number generators, they're running sophisticated tracking software that monitors your individual playing behavior. Every card you insert, every bet you make, every minute you spend at that specific machine creates data. What 95% of players miss is that the longer you play the same machine, the more information it collects about your betting patterns, your response to wins and losses, your session rhythm. Player tracking cards link directly to machine algorithms in ways casinos don't fully disclose in their promotional materials. Internal documentation from former technicians reveals that machines adjust what they call encouragement features based on how long you've been playing. After 45 to 60 minutes at the same machine, the programming increases the frequency of near misses and small wins. One former technician explained that they called this the retention algorithm. Analysis comparing the first 30 minutes of play to the period after 90 minutes shows players experience roughly 60% more near misses in extended sessions. What this means is the machine is learning how to keep you specifically engaged. It's adapting its psychological hooks based on your actual behavior, and most players never realize this is happening at all. But there's one pattern that's even more sinister, and it involves something casinos have been doing for years that 95% of players walk right past without ever noticing. Pattern number 7. The payback percentage location secret. You're walking through the casino floor looking for a machine to play. You see a Lightning Link machine near the main entrance and sit down. 3 hours later, you've put $500 through that machine and gotten back maybe $120 in various small wins. The next week, you're deeper into the casino, past the main pit, back in a quieter corner, and you see another Lightning Link machine. Same game, same denomination, same bet options. You play the exact same way you played before, $500 over a similar time period, but this time you walk away with $280 returned. Same game, same casino, same betting strategy, completely different results. What you missed, and what 95% of players never notice, is that these weren't actually the same machine at all, even though they looked identical. Casinos place tighter machines with lower return to player percentages in high traffic areas where players stop briefly. The machines near entrances, near bathrooms, near buffet lines, and near cash cages are typically 3 to 8 percentage points lower than identical machines in less convenient locations. A former floor manager explained they had an internal term for this strategy. They called them tourist traps. The same Buffalo Gold game sitting near the casino entrance might run at an 87% RTP, while the identical Buffalo Gold game in the back corner runs at 92%. That 5 percentage point difference translates to $50 to $100 difference over an average session, but the physical location pattern remains completely invisible to players who choose machines based on availability and convenience, rather than understanding where the better programmed machines are actually placed. And this brings us to the final pattern, the one that former employees say they felt most guilty about. Pattern number 8. The new game trap. Every few months, the casino introduces a new slot machine. Brand new title, flashy cabinet, updated graphics, innovative bonus features. A crowd gathers around it. Everyone wants to try the new game first. There's excitement, curiosity, the appeal of something fresh. What 95% of players miss completely is that brand new games are programmed with their tightest settings for the first 6 to 12 months after installation. Internal casino strategy documents reviewed by former analysts show this is deliberate policy. They launch new titles with return-to-player percentages 4 to 6 percentage points below where those games will eventually settle, specifically because players flock to novelty regardless of odds. A former game programmer stated directly that they would set new titles at 86% RTP at launch, then gradually increase them to 91% after 8 months once the novelty factor decreased. Players actively seek out the newest, flashiest games on the floor, completely unaware they're choosing the worst-paying machines available, and their excitement about trying something new overrides any pattern recognition that might otherwise protect them. Here's what connects all 8 of these patterns into one unified truth that changes everything. Every single pattern we've covered, from the cold machine myth to the new game trap, exploits the same fundamental human weakness. Your brain is hardwired to find patterns, to create meaning from chaos, to believe that random events follow predictable sequences. Casinos have built their entire modern slot machine strategy around making you see patterns that don't actually exist while completely missing the patterns that do. A former casino operations director stated this directly during an internal training session that was later leaked. He told his floor staff that the entire industry functions because players trust their feelings about patterns instead of tracking actual mathematical data. Random outcomes feel non-random to the human brain. We expect clusters, streaks, cold periods, hot periods. When true randomness doesn't create these feelings, we think something is wrong. Meanwhile, the programmed manipulation, the deliberate near-miss weighting, the location-based RTP variations, the time-tracking algorithms, all of this engineered pattern exploitation feels random because it's designed specifically to hide in plain sight. What separates the 5% of players who notice these patterns from the 95% who don't? Data tracking versus emotional response. The moment you start recording actual outcomes instead of trusting how outcomes feel, these patterns become visible. Cold machines aren't due for wins, they're just machines you're choosing to lose money on while waiting for probability that isn't coming. Just hit machines have identical odds to every other machine, but you're walking past them based on superstition. Penny denominations hide total bet amounts that drain bankrolls faster than higher denominations with lower line counts. Near misses aren't close calls, they're programmed frequency increases designed to keep you seated. Frequent bonuses usually mean low bonus values that don't compensate for the base game cost. Extended sessions trigger behavioral tracking that deploys more psychological manipulation. High-traffic machines pay worse than identical games in inconvenient locations. New games run tighter than established titles for months after release. And every single pattern costs you money specifically because it keeps you playing longer on worse terms than you realize. But that's it. If you've been missing these patterns your entire gambling life, you're not alone. 95% of everyone walking through that casino is missing them too. But now you have information that could legitimately save you hundreds or thousands of dollars over time. Casinos absolutely do not want this information circulating widely. You're now part of a very small group who actually understand what's happening on that slot floor. If this knowledge was valuable, subscribe right now, because I share insider information casinos don't want public. Let me know in the comments which pattern shocked you most. In my next video, I'm revealing the 3 specific machines where these 8 patterns are most aggressively programmed. One of them is probably sitting in your regular casino right now. One of them might be your favorite game.